This episode is sponsored by Jordyn Jars, Chicago's favorite cake in a jar. Jordyn Jars ship nationwide from jordyjars.com, and we are the home of the first cake in a jar vending machine, which is located inside of Lacuna Lofts at 2150 South Canalport. Follow me on Instagram at Jordyn Jars and my personal Instagram at xjordinary.
Mommy, Mommy, in trouble. Mommy, are you okay? Mom!
Hi, my name is Jordyn, and I'm a mom.
Hi, Jordyn.
This is Mommy's Anonymous. Hey guys, this is Jordyn, and this is the first episode of the Mommy's Anonymous podcast. Raise your hand if you have been personally victimized by COVID-19. Okay. Honestly, I have to say RIP to what I thought motherhood would be. The loss of the image of this amazing, involved, happy, chipper mother making Halloween costumes, that all went out the window once they told me those kids were stuck at the house with me indefinitely. So I think that I completely went through all 5 stages of grief. The stages of grief, do you guys know them? I went over them briefly because I felt like I was dealing with something traumatic like loss, and I realized I was going through denial, anger, bargaining, depression, and acceptance. And with all of that, I'm like, oh, you need therapy because you're dealing with something. You've lost, I really feel like I've lost all sense of self. Basically, we were all watching the news, reading all the news articles about what was going on with this virus that we knew nothing about. And I don't know about you, but somebody lied. In March of 2020, they told us the kids were going to be out of school for 14 days. 14 days turned into a month, and then that turned into 2 months, and that's like, oh, now we're coming back after this break and after this break. And they never, ever went back, guys, ever. I did not think that it was going to be as hard as it was. E-learning was the absolute worst experience of my life. I am a great teacher, I think, because I know my ABCs well enough. So I don't think I could have taught anything over kindergarten, personally. I don't think I'm equipped enough for that, but I definitely know the alphabet and I know how to count to 100 really, really well. But when Dallas is needing me to help him with other things like phonics, and although I don't know how to do that, I felt really challenged because what the heck am I doing? I'm just the mom. I thought that me and the teachers had an agreement, like we were in this together, we were going to be, raising these children together, and now here I am, teaching my 5-year-old how to navigate a MacBook rather than just teaching him sight words. So now I have to teach him what a URL is. What does that even mean for a 5-year-old? He was getting very frustrated. I'm dealing with him having tantrums because he wasn't getting called on in class. Him and 28 students are sitting on e-learning on the Zoom call. They're all on mute. It was like watching him grow more and more frustrated. I wanted to take him completely out of school and just homeschool him by myself so I can give him individualized attention. But at the same time, is that doing him a disservice? Is that going to make Dallas his growth emotionally stunted? It was just Dallas and myself in Denham at home, and Denham was maybe 8 months when we were first getting in lockdown. And then the second wave of denial came around. I started feeling a wee bit of pregnancy, a wee bit of baby fever then took over me, and I found out that I was pregnant again in a pandemic. And you're supposed to be so positive when you find out you're pregnant. You're supposed to be thinking of happy thoughts so the baby can be swimming around in joy and happiness, but he's swimming around in sadness and despair because I'm at home homeschooling instead of baking. So it was really hard keeping my mind right for the growing baby while I'm homeschooling and, dealing with the 8-month-old. Not only did we find out we were pregnant during this time, we thought that it was a girl. So we go to the doctor, we do the pink smoke and everything. I remember posting it on Instagram. And then I had to make a whole new post when they found a little penis up in there. And I'm like, you found a what? And I don't know about you moms, but for me, the adjustment from having my husband at every single doctor's appointment with me throughout my prenatal, the 9 months that we're there, they take very good care of us most of the time. But during COVID, you can't go with anybody but yourself. And that it messes up your support system from day one. I want somebody to hold my hand. I wanted Dez to be able to experience seeing the baby and hearing the heartbeat just like I was, but he was cut out from that. So when people say that the fathers don't seem like they have the same attachment as mothers, we kind of were set up for failure in a way with the way that things happened with COVID. It kind of cut out their access to us from the beginning. But I had no idea that was what I was getting myself into when they were telling us we were just going to shut down. It was much more than what I thought. A lot of people had different experiences during quarantine, and I know parents that had younger children. Yeah, we were just stuck in there, playing patty cake and stuff all day. But the moms with school-age children, our unique experience with the homeschooling it really put a bad taste in my mouth for, having a child 5 years ago, because that's annoying. Why would I even do that? So that my child will be the one that needs a real lesson. I'm not just showing him colors and stuff. I think that preschool and kindergarten are the foundational years of your education. And if I mess this up, how are you going to be able to get a good score on the ACT? So basically, I'm already putting a lot of pressure on myself. But when they told us that we were going to be doing e-learning, I thought they were going to get online, they're going to be on a Zoom, and the teacher's going to be doing her thing, in the background. But no, I was wrong. They had the children going from link to link from different classrooms. So they have art class at this time. Art class where you're thinking maybe the lady's going to be painting something. Now, I love teachers. I didn't think that we were going to have an easy time teaching. I just thought that navigating the computers would be easier for the students. So I do want to clear that up. I have a lot of respect for teachers. But I thought the art teacher was going to be doing the art with them. Guess who had to do the art with them, guys? Guess. It was me. It was me. I don't want to make a rainbow with a little cup of water and a CD. Like, the teacher had me running around the house, finding different props and stuff to make art supplies with. And I'd be like, Dallas, we ain't doing that today. I ain't gonna lie. I ain't gonna lie to you. And she can't prove it because we're on the screen. So please, spare me. I was so tired of doing activities. I'm tired of counting. I'm tired of doing anything. I'm tired of making snacks. That's the other thing. Stop eating all the snacks in the house. It's an everlasting activity because kids, when they're bored, they want to eat. So think about financially how much more we had to spend when the kids are at home with us. It was a dramatic difference. Like, I know a lot of people talk about when you're in school, a lot of public schools, that's the only time people get to eat in general. But it's bigger than that. They're at home and they're eating me out of my house and home because they want a snack as an activity. And that you think you're about to take a little nap, you pregnant lady? Think again, because he wants apple slices. So perfect. So I think I didn't know that we were going to be required to go from class to class with these kids. I didn't know they were going to be required to do scavenger hunts all around my house, finding miscellaneous things like belts and pillowcases and bringing them to the screen. That was very irritating. Top 10. Also, gym class. Why are you having gym class in my living room? Why are we doing jumping jacks when I have a newborn baby that's sleeping? All of these things I just didn't anticipate, and I think that now that we're in the pandemic, we're in the thick of it, it's been 2 years later, I'm a little bit more prepared now if they were to say that we have to do e-learning, but I had no clue what I was in for when they first told us that we had 14 days of quarantine. So I read a tweet the other day. One of my kids' godfathers sent me one of my old tweets during quarantine where I said that Dallas wouldn't clean up his toys, so I threw them all away. I was a very angry mommy during that time. I told that baby, put all your toys away and whatever's still on the floor I had to throw away because I was tired of stepping on everything. But please understand that was the darkest time of my life, and the most I felt like I resented my child in general because I had him to begin with. Everyone else was having a great time during lockdown, if they didn't have COVID, of course. People were discovering new passions, learning how to cook, doing yoga, sleeping in, God forbid, working out, doing other things like self-care that they weren't able to do because they were working all the time. It was a complete opposite for moms. We were locked in with the very thing that we like to get away from so that we can enjoy seeing them at the end of the day. I was no longer thrilled about seeing Dallas and asking him about his day because I already know what happened through your whole day. I was here. It was me. I was right here with you. So that was very, very frustrating to, have my life, like not just, I've been a mom for 7 years now, but there was a distinction from when I was Jordyn and when I was a mom before COVID. And now it's like you're always this one person that needs to be smiling through a literal global pandemic, and it started to get unbearable. I was angry if you didn't have any kids. I was angry if your kids were grown and out the house. I was mad if your kids were away at college. I was very frustrated with everybody that wasn't pregnant because I'm dealing with, I'm hormonal. I'm going through postpartum and prenatal hormonal issues at the exact same time because Denim and Dash are 13 months apart. So, and what else were we supposed to be doing besides having sex at home? Hell, what were we supposed to do? We was locked in, but here, whatever. So, after a long time sitting there mad at everybody, mad at the world, I had to really decide, okay, turn your entire house into a homeschool classroom, Jordyn. You're going to be the best homeschool mommy that, that the world's ever seen. And Dallas is going to be a scholar, right? So I really find great pleasure in being good at things and doing, having all the poster boards and ordering all that stuff on Amazon and, having different activities that I used to do when I was a kid. Doing them with Dallas was really fun. He was able to start a YouTube channel where he did his Hey Kids, It's Dallas. We started making the pandemic work for us. And, it did become a little bit less miserable. It's kind of like you think better and, you do better, you smile, and now you're happy. So it was kind of like that. Dallas enjoying it more and actually learning about it. I had to, adjust in the way that I didn't think that I could. I didn't think I was that flexible. And I really, with motherhood, you are stretched to your thinnest and you figure it out. So with dealing with the bargaining, having to make it work. And when I say make it work, I don't just mean motherhood. I mean my business too. As I'm sitting at home becoming an excellent mommy homeschool teacher, my business is failing or feeling like it's failing. I'm sitting here feeling like a failure on one side because I have a bakery with bills that are accumulating month after month. So yeah, that 2 weeks was fine. But what happens when it's been a month and I haven't been to the bakery now because my kid has to be logged on to school at 8 a.m. and he gets out of school at 3 p.m. and I need him to be logged on to school the entire time? What do I do when my landlords at my bakery are like, where's the money? And I'm sitting here like, I have kids, but that's not a good enough excuse. So it became it was a push and a pull. Like it was a hard, I felt like I was doing well, but I also felt the complete equal and opposite way when it came to Jordy Cakes and everything that I built prior to becoming a mom. So I was really letting myself down, and that led me into a really, really deep depression. Planning for the worst case scenario for every single thing that you have coming up, it really starts to take a toll on you. Like having a baby, like my labor plan. I didn't even think I needed to come up with a labor plan because nothing that I planned was happening. So what's the point? I became very depressed, very sad at the current situation of being a mom of almost 3 children, being forced to homeschool against my will. Des was leaving for work at 5:30 in the morning every day, leaving me home to, deal with the kids by myself from the time he left until all the way when he got home. And I would call him several times a day sobbing, telling him how awful school was, how awful, Dallas was crying. Dallas was, upset again. And I think it really was frustrating Des that he wasn't able to help like he could if he wasn't working. I was begging him to quit his job. And that's a really hard decision to make when him quitting his job takes away a lot of financial security that he had, made sure that we had. He made sure we had insurance. You make sure that we have, a lot of the bills were paid. So I could afford to not be at work during that time. But my mental health became out of control. Like it became unmanageable to the point that like I wasn't sure if it was postpartum. I feel like I was having suicidal thoughts. I was feeling like, what is the point of anything right now, of constantly being scared, being anxious, dealing with all of that in the house alone was probably, I don't know, it was the most alone I felt when I was two other people in the house with me, Dallas and Denham. So it's kind of, um, it's a huge wake up call when you really sit there with yourself and you realize that there's something going on you might need to kind of handle. So yeah, instantly you think go to therapy, Jordyn, and that sounds really nice until you realize that you don't have insurance anymore because your husband quit his job, and he quit so he could help you. He quit so he could help take all the kids to school. And when and when he quit, it was what was it, a month after Dash was born. So now, with him leaving at 5 in the morning, I had to have Denham at daycare and Dallas logged onto school by 8 a.m. And Dash cried every single day and every moment that he wasn't sleeping for the first 16 months. So, and he's 16 months right now. So, no, he's getting better now. But it was a really rough time with him being at home while Dallas was homeschooling. So I'm crying, he's crying, Dallas is crying. Okay, Denham was at school, so he lucked out. But when Des finally came home, I think that I was starting to see the light at the end of the tunnel for my mental health. Just like now, it wasn't so much on me. I'm not sitting around with nonverbal children. I'm saying, "Oh, how are you doing? How's your day?" They just look at you with doe eyes. Like, how annoying is that after a while? Your kids are super cute. They take great pictures and all of that. They, Dallas, hey kids, it's Dallas. And I'm sitting here disgusted, wishing I was making a cake for somebody. I have people emailing me about cakes, but I don't even know if I can go in. It was a very depressing thing to sit in. I've created a name for myself. I've created a business for myself. I've created a life that I thought that, this is, I set myself up. Entrepreneurship was like the ability to work and be able to be with my kids, be able to bring my kids to work. That was, a luxury for me. But the pandemic changed all of that. And so it changed my entire perception of what motherhood was. And it really sent me into a depression. After being down in the dumps for so long, and I'm not saying that I'm out of depression. I'm not saying that I'm completely healed because I think that's something I've been dealing with since I was a child. But the motherhood depression, postpartum depression, that kind of, you're not really aware, you're not told about postpartum until you're dealing with it. They tell you about postpartum, they say you're going to want to throw your baby out the window. So when you're not experiencing that level of depression, you're not thinking that you're dealing with postpartum. You're thinking you're just, you're ungrateful because other people have they wish they could have a baby, and you're sitting here complaining about a baby, not sleeping, or you're complaining about homeschooling. So at the same time where I'm depressed and I want to share and I want to vent and I want to confide in other people during a global pandemic, it's like, did you die? And you feel guilty for complaining. You feel guilty for feeling any ill feelings towards your children, for feeling any ill feelings at all when you have your health. So you have to learn to be more grateful. So you start, learning to accept it. How do you learn to accept the situation? Learn to accept that no plans are going to go according to plan, and that become your new plan is to plan on the fly. Learn how to plan a party in 7 days so it doesn't get canceled. Like, I had to learn how to make the homeschooling work for me. When I said I turned my entire house into a homeschool for Dallas, I was so depressed at home with the homeschool that was at my house. I decided when I went to the acceptance phase in this, I moved the homeschool to the bakery. So I made a whole homeschool area for him here so I can tackle both issues. I needed to make sure I was a great mom, a great teacher, and a great business owner so I can kind of pull myself out of that depression. When you sit in that and you sit and you're thinking like, oh, woe is me, everything is so hard, COVID is the worst, and it still is, and that's very valid. But what are you gonna do? It's been 2 years now and I just wanted to complain different this year. Like, I don't want my same complaints to be that I'm homeschooling. I need to figure it out. Like, it's about time to accept that the world has no clue what they're doing. The government has no idea what to do. They have no plans. They have, none of this stuff is consistent. The math is not mathing, y'all. But what is, what we have learned is to pivot. And that's with business and with motherhood. I'm a different type of mother than I thought I was going to be. I'm a different type of wife. I'm a different type of friend. I'm a different type of woman. 2 years ago, I had one child. Now I have three. And now, I told my mom, like, I'm big mama now. I have a lot of experience, But COVID's not about to take me out. Although constantly pivoting in business and in your personal life can be exhausting, it feels like you're running on a treadmill and you're going nowhere, but you're still equally as tired, but you don't really feel like you're accomplishing these goals. Like, I decided to start coming up with COVID friendly plans. So, things that no matter if we got to shut down, we can't go outside for no time, what are we going to do? This podcast is one of those things that has been a part of my acceptance plan of this, global pandemic and motherhood, all these challenges that are being thrown at me. I feel like we need to tackle them all. This is going to be the new business plan. This is my pivoting. This is me restructuring my life to make it work for me and my kids and my husband. Throughout the podcast, we will be doing a segment called Dear Mama. And this will be me putting up different polls and questions for moms to write in anonymously and weigh in on various topics that I feel are pressing at the moment. And last week, I was thinking about if we felt like we had the same village that our parents had as we grew up. I think that I had a really huge realization throughout the pandemic that my village was not my mom's village. I'm like, when I had kids, I'm thinking all her friends are going to be my kids' aunties and all of that. Like, a lot of them are their godparents and stuff too. But she has sisters, she has her parents, my grandparents, and they did a great job with us. They were always watching us, in my opinion, or helping out and taking us places. So when I didn't have that same kind of ability to just call and ask them to help me, it was very frustrating and new for me. And I know why they were acting brand new, but I realized that they were not my village. They were her village. She spent a lot of time building relationships with her friends, and they knew us and we knew them. So that seems to be something I need to do with my kids right now, and having them get to know other adults. But how do we do that in the middle of a pandemic? When I asked the question, I said, do you feel like you have the same village as your parents? 18% of moms said yes, and 82% said no. And that is insane to me. I thought I was the only one that felt like that. I was the only one that was feeling like, oh, grandparents don't act the same like they used to. That's crazy. But it seems like a lot of you guys are feeling like that, and feeling the void, and not feeling like you can reach out and ask just anybody to watch your kid for a couple hours, that you just need to go and have a break and go get your nails done or something. I know personally, I feel like when I want a self-care day, and by self-care day, I mean maybe 2 hours to get my nails done or something, I don't want to ask, because I feel like I don't deserve that free time because I have these kids. And the free time that I'm being awarded is, I'm taking away your free time, and these aren't your kids. So I'm always afraid to ask, and feeling guilty and feeling like my kids are a burden. And it causes me to stay like a hermit and stay in the house. And that caused my kids not to build relationships with people too. So I don't know, it feels kind of counterproductive. But I know when we're watching the news and we keep hearing that babies and children are super spreaders, all the grandparents have a out. I mean, not just saying that was their out, but that was one of the excuses I was hearing, was that the kids were more likely to spread the virus. So now we lose our babysitters, and we lose, our grandparents who are older, who maybe shouldn't be around little kids. You're a little nervous about letting them go over there, because how would you feel if now they get sick? And that would just be devastating for you. So I don't know. I think it's just it's a hard time to build a village. It's a hard time to grow your village, and it's a hard time to be a young mom whose friends are also young. Our friends are out. If they don't have kids, they're out living their lives. And if they do have kids, they're stuck in the house like us. So I don't know how we fix the problem just yet. Now, I did read a couple of the inserts that people were leaving for me, and I'm going to read them anonymously, so you guys can always feel like this is a safe space where you can write in. One mommy said, our parents are still living their best lives, in parentheses, fairly young lives, vacationing, concerts, and work. And I totally agree with that. My grandparents were almost retired when I was young. So now, we were allowed to go over there on the weekends and things like that, and it wasn't a huge imposition. Now, our parents who may have been a little bit younger when they had us and they're still in the workforce, their free time is their free time. They don't want to spend time watching kids after they just got you out the house. And to me, that feels selfish, but I mean, that's just how I feel, hell, because I need help. But our parents being young is a huge thing for me. And my mom runs her own business. She owns started a 40 plus double dutch club, shameless plug. But she is very busy jumping double dutch from state to state, and there's a rule that kids aren't allowed. How convenient. She can't even take them to the little jumping meetups. So I'm thinking, wow, this is perfect. My kids can sit out there and just run around while y'all jumping. And she's like, I told those other women that we are just having a place for us to come, women over 40, to come and jump without kids and without all that. And I'm just like, it's very frustrating because my mom, we were very sheltered, and I thought that she was going to be my number one babysitter when the time came. I don't know about you guys, but when I was growing up, my mom told me she wasn't going to watch any kids. But I thought she was kidding, right? Like, I thought she was joking, and I thought she meant as a teenage mom. Like, if I had a child while I was in her house, she wasn't going to take care of the child. I didn't know that she meant that afterwards, when she was out being an empty nester, that she was really going to want to keep her nest empty. So it's kind of hitting me all at once. And me being more vocal with my mom and telling her what my expectations were, maybe they were a little bit, they were selfish. Maybe, what is the word? Codependent. I just thought that my mom and I were a team too, just like I thought me and the teachers were a team. I want the village that I had, and she was a part of that village. So her not being a part of my kid's life throughout quarantine, which seemed like forever, but it was only a couple months that we were stuck in the house. That stuff really bothered me. I would get into with my mom because I'm telling her, like, I really want you to have a better relationship with the kids. And it was just, it's telling people what you need and asking people for help is important, and not just being mad at them for not helping. And maybe they don't even see that you need as much help. Maybe they sit and they see you doing just fine and not thinking, you're handling everything fine and you never ask. So it's like, oh, well, I mean, I'm dying over here. I just didn't want, I don't want people to worry. So I don't really express myself and ask for what I need all the time. But I guess finding people to trust you, that you can trust, is hard. And when certain people that you did think you can trust say no, then you don't even go looking anywhere else. One of the other moms said because they had siblings and cousins and aunties helping, and I can't get my sisters to watch my kids. Okay, I think that that's a very valid point. I don't even know what people with one that were only children would do, or just have one other sibling. My mom had 2 sisters, and so she would ask them to help, and she had friends. But if you are an only child, or your siblings live out of state like mine do, I don't have a brother my brothers I can just call and say, hey, can you come over here and sit with the kids really quick while I go up to the bakery? I think that they would if they were here, but they never moved back after they moved away from Chicago. I don't know why. I don't think they ever will. It's too cold here. But I didn't prepare myself for not having, the fact that I didn't have a whole bunch of extended family, and I didn't have sisters. I don't even know if brothers watch kids. Do brothers watch kids? Just sisters? Not sure. It's just boys. But my brothers are like, I don't know why you think we would watch your kids if we were in town anyway. But I think that having siblings and having a good family unit around you growing up will set the tone for you having kids, and your kids having cousins and other people that are just as, they have kid-friendly homes. A lot of my friends have nice houses. I don't even want to send my kids there to break all their stuff. So, I only want to have my kids play with people that have kids. But I have a hard time going to other people's houses that have kids. I don't want to hear anybody else's kids making any noise. I don't want to hear it. If I get a moment of peace, I really just want to be in a peaceful environment. It's like I'm trading my kids' cries for your kids' cries. I don't even know what your kids are saying because they're all speaking different baby languages. But so I definitely agree that the difference of having siblings and your parents having siblings and aunts and cousins can, make a difference of how your village turns out when you have your kids. Another mom said that her village, in quotes, makes her feel like her boys are a burden, so she doesn't like to ask. So Like I said, I think that maybe reaching out to the people that you consider your village, or developing a village of your own that won't make your kids feel like they're a burden. I'm not really there yet. I haven't figured it out. My friends are very much entrepreneurs, or they don't have children, or they are equally, or they work, full-time jobs. I don't really know I don't know how to ask for help. And no one, and I repeat, no one wants to watch 3 kids. So there I am, separating all 3 of my kids every time we go on a date, because I don't want to overwhelm anybody and burn up all my babysitters and have them sick and tired of, I don't want them to be like, oh yeah, Jordyn and Des brought them babies over here and tore my house up and they're not even back yet. So I'm always on time. I drop off on time. I try to have snacks and all type of stuff, but I do split my 3 up to go 3 different places so that nobody is as overwhelmed as I truly feel. It takes a village to raise a child. We've heard that our entire lives, but where the village at? Where the village at? I was raised at Trinity United Church of Christ. I went there my whole life. Was in the choir and all the other activities. I had a lot of friends, and I was close with the pastor, the secretaries. Everybody at the church knew me and my family, and I think that was a really important part of my upbringing and building my relationship with God. Being an entrepreneur, I've kind of not been able to take my kids to church how I would want to. Well, Dallas, because COVID's cut out church for the younger 2. But with Dallas, I wasn't able to take him to church because I had cakes every weekend. So that always used to bother me, but I had to do what I had to do, watch church online, and then eventually just reading the Bible and doing my own type of, spiritual things. But I definitely feel like that is a big difference between our generation and our parents' generation in the village that we were able to develop. It seems like moms have a general disdain for grandmothers being so much different than the grandmothers we know and love that were knitting with children, their grandchildren running around their feet. I thought our grandparents enjoyed seeing us and enjoyed, having grandma time. It never felt like I was being babysat while I was over there. But I'm not really sure how it was for my mom asking for help, but it didn't seem like we were a burden to our grandparents, in my opinion. But now it's like I know that my kids are going to be at my mom's house from this time to this time, and I'm anxious the entire time, making sure that I don't let my kids overstay their welcome. Some of you guys said that these grandparents nowadays are still trying to kick it like they're 20. That's why I said a disdain, because the tone that you guys were giving me, I was like, yeah, y'all are just as mad. Like, it just seems so different. I don't know if I would have a problem with my mom if I didn't feel like my grandma wasn't the ultimate grandmotherly grandma. We were going to museums. Granted, my babies are small. Dallas is a little older, and my mom is she's building a better relationship with Dallas now, but it was a little bit harder for her to connect when they were younger. And if she is in any way as irritated with kids crying as I am, I guess I do understand why you wouldn't want to be around crying babies. Dash was extremely, extremely, extremely colicky. So I did not know what to do. I did not want him spending the night over at anyone's house. But his godmother is the real MVP. She always watches him, and with no problem. And she has a dog over there that yells and barks just as much as Dash does. So I think that they are competing for who's the noisiest. But you just really have to find your people. There are people that don't have a problem, people that are empty nesters that don't have kids, and you will feel completely safe leaving your kids there. And if you need to stay an extra night, they're not going to be like this is not my, these aren't my kids. That's really the general thing that I always feel. I think that when people say no to me when babysitting like family members, to me it feels like it's a punishment, because I know how much you felt like you may have appreciated us being babysat, so why won't you give me the same freedom? So I kind of feel a little salty sometimes when it comes to that. One of the moms said that her mother-in-law doesn't babysit or spend time with her baby at all, and that he barely knows her. So I don't know how it feels to have a mother-in-law, because Dez's mom passed away right before we met, and I always wonder how she would be as a mom. As a grandmother, I would always wonder, and I know that makes Dez sad that she's not here to see, her grandchildren, and we keep, piling on babies. So it's just, they're so beautiful. It's so fun having them, but it is like there's somebody's missing. Somebody's missing all of these different activities. And then when Des sees me crying and complaining about, my kids, us not having anywhere for the kids to go, in the back of his mind, he's probably like, dang, I wish my mom was here, because she would definitely watch the kids. Like, she wouldn't have a problem watching them, And so that kind of brings up every time a constant reminder, a constant place of grief. If you are missing somebody in your village, you feel that void all the time. It's like a wound that never will heal, because every birthday, every holiday, and down to a date night that you can't go on, your mom or your dad would have stepped in and, took over, and that it just really sucks sometimes. So I hate to see there are people that don't have the help, but I'm really right here with y'all. But we're figuring it out. Maybe when the kids get older, maybe there's different ages that people would like to babysit. Like, it's sometimes, now that Dallas is older, my mom can make cheesecake with him and, do little activities and do flashcards. And as babies, what do you get to do with them? What kind of grandparent you're ready? Maybe she's ready to be like a kid grandparent and not a baby grandparent. That's a such thing, possibly. I think I'm a better kid mom than a baby mom. I like logic and I like words. Okay, with words and language comes understanding. I do not understand my babies a lot of times because they're not using their words. Obviously, they're 1 and 2, but it's still equally frustrating for me. I'm having a hard time connecting with them, and so I think possibly people that aren't around them all the time may have that same issue. So I'm trying to give them some grace, but I'm also way more tired than everybody in my family, in my opinion. So I feel like they should help. The pandemic, someone said the pandemic has sheltered a lot of people, and that is definitely the truth. The fact that people haven't left their houses for weeks and weeks and weeks. Now that you've sheltered in place with no other people around you, you coming around a bunch of kids may just be the thing that gets you sick, and then they'll never be back. I live in Chicago, obviously, but I never really thought about how it would be if I decided to move out of the state, and what that would do for my village and what that would do for my support system. I know I have Des. A lot of moms were saying that they were raised in a 2-parent household, or they knew of people that were raised in 2-parent households, and that's why they felt like they had a different village. But me and Des are both, we're both here, we're both present, and it's still very hard. However, I'm in the state with all of my family members right now. If I did have an emergency, I do know that I have people that I can call. I do have friends that you can call in the clutch. You know that. Like, there's a difference between not having a babysitter and not having somebody to really save the day. So I know I have people that can save the day. I do have some good babysitters, but I do know I want to go on a 10-day trip. But we can't do that quite yet. So I'm going to wait on it, and I'm not going to hold my breath. But a lot of moms that are living out of town, they wrote in saying that they kind of cut their village off themselves by, having different job opportunities and having relationships that are out of the city. And now you guys are bringing new life into, the world. And that might be the thing that might send you back to, back home. I'm interested to see how my brother is going to, my older brother, him and his girlfriend, they just bought a house in Portland. What's going to happen when y'all have a baby? You will need help. And I can't imagine them not needing help, because I need so much help. So hell, I think that they would probably need the same, and that might send them back to Chicago. So I don't know. I'm curious to see, but I definitely know that we have to create our own village in order to make it through. And this podcast, y'all are my village now. I'm creating my own village by creating other people that I want to, build relationships with, and maybe I can send my kids to your house. How about that? We can start, a community of moms that I want my kids to trust other adults. So if they're having issues, they can go to my best friend Jess and say, look, my mom did something weird the other day. Like, I don't know what she was supposed to be doing. I really just want my kids to be great human beings later on, and that requires them not to be sheltered so much that they don't trust other people or know that they should trust other people and have a village of their own. So I think we're doing a great job, y'all. And shout out to the babysitters that I do have. Like, there's a sister, the godparents, my grandma when she can, my aunts when she can, and my mom. Like, I really, 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 really appreciate that shit. I really think that this podcast is going to be really therapeutic for me, and I hope it will be for you as well. And it's some free therapy, hell. I hope that you enjoyed listening to the Mommy's Anonymous podcast. Feel free to like, subscribe, and follow us so you never miss an episode. Welcome to the support group.